Hi guys, welcome to this video. In this video we analyze a CAT-RC passage. This one is based on the closing of malls. Let's get started. Let's understand what this passage is all about. This year alone more than 8,600 stores could close according to industry estimates. Many of them the brand name anchor outlets that real estate developers once stumbled over themselves to quote. So for example, you've got the Nike outlet, the Reebok outlet, etc., etc. These are brand name outlets. So real estate developers used to stumble over themselves. They used to fight with themselves to make sure that they attract this particular brand to their mall. Already there have been 5,300 retail closings this year. Sears Holdings, which owns Kmart, said in March this year that there's substantial doubt it can stay in business altogether. 300 closed stores will close this year. So far, 9 real estate chains have filed for bankruptcy. So really painting a grim picture, right? Painting a very, very negative picture that a lot of malls are closing. So this paragraph just tells us one thing, that malls are closing. Next paragraph tells us local jobs are a major casualty of what analysts are calling, with only a hint of hyperbole. So that means only with a hint of exaggeration, the retail apocalypse. So it's the time when the retail world is coming to an end, right? That's why the exaggeration. So this paragraph is about job loss. Since 2002, department stores have lost 448,000 jobs. The number of store closures this year is on to surpass the worst steps of the Great Recession. So Great Recession took place in the from 1929 to 1939, around that period of time, that 10-year window, right? So 1930s to 40s, that decade. So it's really, really bad. That's what the author wants to say. The growth of online retailers, meanwhile, has failed to offset those losses, with e-commerce sector adding 178,000 jobs over the last 15 years. Some of those jobs can be found in the massive distribution centers Amazon has opened across the country, often not too far from malls that the company helped shutter. So this is a little bit of sarcasm, ironic, right? Almost highlighting the irony of the situation, that they've opened up close to the very places that they've closed, right? Or led to the closure of those places. So second paragraph tells us that jobs have been lost. Even though a lot of jobs have been lost, the same have not been availed of, the same have not been created in the online world. Now, next thing, but those are workplaces. So he's now talking about, in the second paragraph, he was only talking about the workplace damage, not gathering places. So now he's going to bring in the social context. How does he do that? The mall is both. He's saying it's a workplace as well as a gathering place. If you think about it, that makes sense, right? And in the 61 years since the first enclosed one opened in suburban Minneapolis, the shopping mall has been where a huge swath of middle class Americans went for far more than shopping. So there is a huge number of middle class Americans who went there for more things than just shopping. It was the home of first jobs, blind dates, family photos, ear piercings, where goths are generally uncouth individuals, right? Also, it also refers to people who dress up in black clothes and follow a certain kind of rock music. So that seems to be the reference in this case. And grandmothers could somehow walk through the same door. So he's saying that two completely opposite sets of individuals, goths and grandmothers, could pass through the same doors and find something they all liked. Sure, the food was lousy for you and the oceans of parking lots encouraged car heavy development, somehow now scorned by contemporary planners. So contemporary planners don't like the car heavy development, do not like the fact that huge parking lots were built and the usage of cars was promoted. But for better or worse, the mall has been America's public square for the last 60 years. So when he says America's public square, it has been the meeting place for the public, right? So what happens when it disappears? Think of your mall or think of the one you went to as a kid. Think of the perfume clouds, the fountain splashes, the cinnamon wafting from the food court. He's here trying to make you recall all the memories that you have of your malls, right? All the pleasant memories. As far as ancient Greece, societies have congregated around a central marketplace. So that's what societies have always done, right? They've had a central marketplace and they are built around it. In Central Europe, they were outside cathedrals for half of the 20th century, almost 20 years in the new one. Much of America has found their agora. Agora is the marketplace. On the terrazzo, terrazzo is the floor. Between Orange Julius and Sbarro, Sbarro is a pizza company, Walden Books and The Gap, Sunglass Hut and Hot Topic. So these are all different brand names. So when he says that they have found their marketplace on the floors off. So basically saying is they found their marketplace in malls, right, where all these brands are. This is where people set foot. The mall was an ecosystem unto itself. So it was an ecosystem unto itself. Within itself, it represented a complete ecosystem, a combination of community and commercialization, peddling everything you needed and everything you did not. So it brought together everything you needed as well as you did not. It was not only about commercial needs, it was about everything else as well. All of it came together, right? A growing number of Americans, however, don't see the need to go to any Macy's at all. Our digital lives are frictionless, ruthlessly efficient, with retail and romance available at a click. Now, this is a very, very important paragraph, and you will see why do we need to understand this paragraph when we solve the questions. He's saying now a lot of Americans, they don't need to go to the mall at all. They do not need to go to Macy's, which are stores in malls, because of their digital lives, which are frictionless, which are ruthlessly efficient, where you have retail, where you can shop, where you have romance as well, you can meet people online as well. Malls were designed for leisure, abundance, gambling. You parked and planned to spend some time today. Much of that time has been given over to busier lives, second jobs, apps that let you swipe right instead of haunt the food court. So instead of going over to these places, what are you doing instead? You are swiping over apps. You are busy with your own lives. Malls, says Harvard professor Leonard Schlesinger, were built for patterns of social interaction that increasingly don't exist. So society is changing itself, and that kind of social interaction does not exist. So if you go through the overall passage, if you go through the thematic makeup of the passage, the first paragraph simply introduces to us malls are closing, paints a grim picture. Second paragraph is about jobs being lost and impact on workplaces. Third paragraph tells us that it's not only about workplaces, malls were social gatherings as well. It tells us that what was the function of malls in the past. Now in the fourth paragraph, he continues that. He tells us that how did malls come into the picture, how did they evolve. In fact, he goes back into history, he goes back to Greece, he goes back to medieval Europe, and how did malls come about. Then he finally concludes that they are an ecosystem in itself, and then he goes on to the next topic, that our digital lives are changing the way we interact, are changing the way we live, and the way of social interaction that we had, it simply does not exist anymore. So that's the whole passage. That is what the passage is communicating to you, and this is what you should have derived after reading this particular passage. Hopefully so the passage is absolutely clear to you and you learn something valuable from this video. Thank you very much for watching this video, and happy learning.